Good morning, everybody. I'm happy to give you a warm welcome to this morning's session. My name is Caroline Zwilling. I'm from Eurac Institute for Comparative Federalism. I'm a colleague from all other European institutes, colleagues here around. You already know us by heart. Welcome especially to our guests today. We organized this roundtable. And the special thanks goes to our partner, the Forum of Federation. It's a long-standing partner of ours. We share many experiences also in projects. One is this winter school on federalism. The cooperation is this year concentrating especially on the roundtable today, which I don't moderate, so I will be very short in order to just open the floor today. As you all know, this will be also streamlined. Therefore, I also welcome all the participants online. And just the first words with regard to the roundtable today. The topic is the role of vertical separation of powers in safeguarding democracy, which for sure in these days becomes even more interesting and globally important to speak about that. So I hope our discussion and especially first the presentations will be very interesting and give us many food for thought, and the discussion afterward will be lively and fruitful to all of us. Thank you so much. I would like to pass over immediately to Professor Luisa Antoniolli from University of Trento. She's professor there at the Faculty of Law and also at the School of International Studies. She's the moderator of this roundtable, and she will present also all other participants now. Thanks and enjoy.
Thank you. It's working. So good morning, everybody. It's a real pleasure to be here. Beautiful room, and beautiful town, beautiful weather. So everything is just perfect. But the fact that we have to sit inside, but I mean that's part of the game, and you can look out of the window. So first of all, let me thank the organizer, Eurac and the University of Innsbruck, and in particular Professor Palermo, Professor Campbell, and Professor Palaver for inviting me. I'm a sort of an outsider because my main field is private comparative law, so I'm not a constitutional lawyer, but I've been working for many years on comparative law in the EU and also in the US. So I've been seeing kind of constitutionalism from a different kind of perspective, and I think that's why they asked me to participate into this roundtable, and I'm very glad that I can do that. Now, unfortunately, we're going to have just two presenters instead of three, or discussing rather than three, but that would allow, first of all, to some more time for the presenter to explain their positions, and of course, it will also allow to have some more time for discussion, which is good. So I think we can take it a little bit easier. Now the structure is as follows. We're going to have the presentation of the speaker, of their work and of their research. Then we're going to have a session of 3 questions that are going to be replied by each of them. And then we have a Q&A session. And then I try to get some conclusion of what has been said during this session. Now, when they sent me the topic of the roundtable, I just paused for a while and said, this is $1 million question. So the question is, does vertical separation of powers prevent authoritarianism? And well, as I said, this is really a complex and difficult and challenging question, because there are a number of issues there. First of all, how do you define authoritarianism? What is it? The definition is not easy. I think you get different definitions depending on how you approach the topic. And it has a link with a variety of other concepts that we sometimes use, like populism or nationalism. In the case of Europe, we have Euroscepticism. And they play in a very complex way. Now, I think what is also interesting today is that we are seeing that from a multidisciplinary perspective. is not purely a legal question, it's not purely a political question, it's also social, cultural question. So depending on the angle from which you delve into the matter, you're going to get different kind of issues that arise. So I think what is important is to keep in mind that somehow we know when we see it. We know that something out there that is moving into the authoritarian direction. I think the presentation says that between 2016 and 2021, there have been more countries moving toward authoritarianism than twice as much as the countries moving towards democracy. Now, I don't know how they measure it, but usually this is a quantitative measure of certain benchmarks that see what that means to move in one direction and the other. And we have somehow an intuitive sense that the world is moving in that direction. In these days, I would say particularly so, for a number of things that are playing out. But as scholars, we need to be able to carve out some of the mechanisms that are at play, define what are the causes that lead into that trend, and how this plays out in terms of defining mechanisms that might counter this kind of tendency. And I think that's the core of the roundtable. So vertical separation, however you define it, does it foster or does it combat the risk toward authoritarianism? I think there's much to discuss in that area. One thing that I would like to point out is, and I think I look at the list of participants, and it's wonderful that you come from so many countries, from so many traditions and experiences. So I think one of the important things is that to set the line that there's no such a thing as a one size fits all. There's no way of finding a model that will do it as a miracle, that you put it there and it's going to work. So context matters, history matters, and we have to take it into account, which doesn't mean that we cannot compare and that we cannot find out some common trends that are out there. And I think this is something that probably will come out during discussion, exactly because you have such a varied and a significant multicultural perspective on the issue. Then another item that I think comes out from the question is that this idea of multi-level governance or systems is a very broad one, because it covers, of course, federalist entities, proper federalist states, but also entities like, for example, the European Union, which is not a state. It's theoretically an international organization, but with very special characteristics. So this multi-level approach allows